Making a bet with Mom right now.
Oh my gosh. It's scarier than what we were going to talk about. Well, that's the way to start the Halloween edition.
Hello, and welcome to the Five Live Bears
Dead
podcast. Welcome to the Five Bears. Welcome to the Five Dead Bears podcast.
Let's let Aaron just run it.
Aaron, just do it, Aaron. Just go ahead, Aaron. Bring us in.
Welcome to the Five Dead Bears podcast.
That's pretty impressive,
That
actually.
was amazing,
It
Aaron.
was actually really good.
That was good, Aaron.
He's been working on that all week.
Yeah, he's been in the shower all. Welcome. No, that's not right. That's not right. I gotta get a little bit deeper. That's it. That's it. Do it again, Aaron. Aaron, bring us in again.
Welcome to the Five Dead Bears podcast.
That's perfect. That's amazing, Aaron.
That's awesome.
That's the show. We'll
Done.
see you later.
Mic
Welcome
drop.
to the podcast.
I'm psyched. It's Halloween week.
It is Halloween week. John is currently dressed up like a pumpkin. If I wish we had the video going right now. He's in all orange. He's got his face painted like a jack-o'-lantern. He is.
I got on the green tights.
Psyched.
And the
Yeah.
green tights. And the,
We've asked him to put up the.
I'm actually wearing a jumpsuit like the guys at the zoo.
No.
And it's just like a pumpkin.
No.
Did you see that, Brian? Did you? Hang on, wait. We gotta.
Hey,
John,
so I will
Brian
say.
went to the booth. Dude, Brian, did you get
So I will say this: Frozone was not there now,
Frozone has been
and
removed.
which was the other character?
Spider-Man.
There was no Spider-Man.
Now the night we were there, Spider-Man was okay. Frozone, on the other hand,
Like no, game
Nope.
over. Thanks,
Wow.
Spider-Man.
no. Frozone, wow. Okay.
Frozone needed like a modesty towel to put around or something like that.
Hey, bud, can you freeze that a little bit? Like,
No, easy.
It was
Wow.
It was not cold at the booth when we went.
We had I was like,
when I went. That's why he probably wasn't there.
well, and my 5-year-old niece wanted to get pictures with everybody. And so
did-
finally, I
so
was
did
like, I was
Kim.
telling Susie, go stand in front of him. Just don't
Oh,
turn around. Just turn,
No,
just
the thing
walk
that was,
backwards
like,
toward him.
Frozone like stuck his he's like standing like in a superhero pose with like his crotch out. It was terrible, man.
Tim, would you say there was a cold front that night?
Well, there was definitely not a cold front, sir. Definitely.
All right, well, it's been great.
Welcome. Anyways, it is Halloween week. John's dressed like a pumpkin. The rest of us are normal. Charlie, unfortunately, is not with us. He is taking care of some friends' house and in the middle of nowhere. I think he's probably the most freaked out of any of us right now. He was describing the house. It's a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere that this man built and one day just walked away and died or something like that. So
I think that's what he said.
I literally peed when he told me that story.
I didn't really get the whole story. I know he says something about somebody just kind of disappeared, kind of
Yeah.
walked away and
died.
left it.
It's like he just walked out into the middle of a mist.
Kind of
and
like
was gone.
Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, his dad.
I don't know if it was that. It probably wasn't that. Probably wasn't that romanticized. It's probably just he's like, I'm going to the mailbox. Like,
Did you learn that death call from when you went and learned how old people died at my old Kentucky home?
yeah, the lady that was doing the tour at my old Kentucky
Now
home.
this is the sound they made. Ugh.
She was like, let's sing My Old Kentucky Home. And at the very end, they got done with it, and they were like, ugh.
Gosh.
The original owner of the house walked down the staircase and said, ugh, fell over right here.
Well, since
After
it
they
is
hung
the Halloween edition, we are going to start off by talking about two different things. Either a moment from TV or movie that absolutely scared you or petrified you or made you shiver, or just scary moments from life, things that freaked you out as a
made you
child
quiver.
or made you, freaked you out yesterday, whatever it might be. We are talking about scary moments from our life for Halloween. So, John, this is your realm. This is your world. Start us off with a scary
Paranormal.
tale.
All right. Well, let me just preface this by saying that in the room, me and Brian are we're the ghost story guys.
Yes. I love a good ghost story.
I like a ghost story.
Well, yeah, but you have this tendency to go. Mm-hmm.
You kind of put like the like you're like wah wah whatever on the end of it. Like it's like oh my gosh, and then what happened? What happened? And then you're like wah wah whatever.
I can sit here and tell a story, and Brian's like, really? That's awesome. And Tim's like,
looks like you tell stories about a ghost cat in your house.
There
There's
is.
a
Hey,
ghost
I
cat.
have felt Katie.
there is a ghost cat in
Boom!
the house.
Right in the back of the leg.
Yeah.
You wait
In
till she
fact-
claws your eyes out, Tim, when you're not
Yeah.
looking.
Wait. Well, she was declawed, so she couldn't do that.
What
It's
on
even
the-
worse. She's gonna paw him out. Oh man.
Well, in all reality, yes, we do have a ghost cat here in our house. Now, she has not been very active in the last couple months.
it's not time. Yet.
It's not that time of year yet for her to come out. But
It's the most wonderful
we have a new cat. Well, he's not really new. He's been around for a while, Murphy. And he is a barometer for telling us when she's going to start becoming more active because he will start flipping out and just running the house. He's been doing it the last couple of days, just kind of like looking at shadows. And like other night, what was it he was doing? Oh, he was just running and just making this cat.
He was a running.
Running up and down the stairs. And Carla was like, well, Katie must be bothering him tonight. But she'll make an appearance every once in a while. Brian, nobody believed me, but then Brian actually had her like brush against him one night, sitting down here in the basement, which is always freaky when that happens.
We were supposed to wash the couch after that, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, she'll do it every once in a while. Every once in a while, she'll make an appearance.
John, tell me a scary story.
Well-
a scary event in your life.
Oh man.
Or a scary TV moment.
Well, I like it's Halloween, so I like to veer away from television and movies and things because those are easy. But I always like to talk about the one of my favorite stories that I had personally happen to me was was at Waverly Hills Sanitarium here in Louisville. Everybody who's in paranormal knows about Waverly Hills and the supposed hauntings there. And I didn't believe it. Me and Tim went up there one time and we did a tour and we almost got kicked off the tour because
multiple times.
yeah, because we were just simply not taking it very serious. And
we didn't respect the ghosts.
we weren't respecting the spirits and all that type of stuff because for some reason somebody gets really touchy and really sore when I'm 2.5 stories below Tim on a spiral staircase, and I look up and I say, hey, Tim, because there's an old television sitting there. I say, look, it is a TV hospital. And the tour guide just didn't get the joke. He was like, you need to show more respect. You can leave anytime you want. I was like, nah, I'm all right.
I paid
Like,
$20.
you could start being a better host too.
And Tim kept calling him out on everything that was going on, and then he didn't like it because my sister was 9.5 years pregnant with my first niece, and they took her up to room 502, and they were like, everybody who walks in 502 and the pregnant has a very adverse effect to this room because a nurse who was pregnant hung herself here. Is there any pregnant women here tonight who would like to go in room 502 and experience it? My sister's like, yeah, I'll go. By herself, and the dark. And we'll spend about 5 minutes in there. So she went in there, and she was in there. And we're in there. I told her before she went in, as soon as you walk in there, just flip out. Just flip out. Just start screaming.
Just have the baby.
Yeah, just right there. Have Sarah right there. And she spent some time when she came back out. And he's like, oh, what did you feel? She was like, it was really cold in there. He's like, it was really cold. You felt drafty. It was cold. She's like, yeah, it was really cold. All the windows are out, and it's 47 degrees outside. It was really cold. And he didn't like that too much because she was making fun of it herself.
So did you have an actual scary moment?
We did, or I did. It was I kind of poo-pooed the whole thing for forever. And then one night we had me and my sister had convinced my mom and dad that they were doing a historical tour of Waverly Hills at night at like 8:30 on a Saturday evening. And they went with us. And what we didn't tell them was when we got up there that it was the actual like chainsaw chase you around haunted house.
Yeah.
Oh no!
So we paid for it and everything. And my dad was like, my dad hates this stuff. I mean, I'm talking with a passion. Tomorrow night he's going to Kentucky. My old Kentucky with us for a ghost walk, and he's probably not going to enjoy himself because he hates ghost stories. And
But
things
you
like
know
that.
he's going to be belting out my old Kentucky home, though.
My old Kentucky home.
Far
Yeah.
away.
Ron jumps up behind him. Away.
That's awesome.
And
Impromptu.
anyway,
He
so we
split that.
went and did this haunted house. And of course, you walk in like in the haunted, and it's like, ugh, and they're all chasing you, chainsawing you, and they have people dressed up.
Baby chainsaw.
I found I found it to be a little bit in poor taste because they had like people laying in beds like blood all over them. It's like, oh, I'm coughing up blood.
Oh,
it's like, oh, come on, no, that's not. But anyway, they do their thing, and they got to a point in it to where there was a maze, and it was a blackout maze.
I remember this too.
And I hate blackout mazes.
It's so freaky.
So my sister and my mom were in front of us, and I was in.
It's coming, Tim. It's coming.
I
Get ready.
was walking behind them, and my dad was behind me.
Eyes already rolled out of my head.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just
And
get ready for it, Tim. Get ready.
And of course, the thing about it is that I'm 5'9". My dad's 6'2", and he's trying to hide behind me. So he's walking behind me, and he's holding onto my jacket. And my sister and mom are gone. I mean, they just take off running. My sister's laughing. She leaves. And so I'm walking, and I've got my hands out in front of me, and I'm like, somebody's going to jump out. My dad's like, somebody's going to jump out. Somebody's going to jump out at us. I know someone's going to jump out at us. And we came around a corner, and I had my hands out trying to find the wall. And it was between my hands and my face. And I heard this little girl voice goes, "Don't worry, there's nobody in here." And I felt the air, and I'm reaching, trying to grab this person, and I was like, "What in the world?" I was like, "Yeah." So I walk on out. My sister and mom are standing there in front of us, and I asked my sister. I said, "Did somebody come out in front of me?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, and there was no way they could have moved because the walls were 4 feet, and then I was reaching, trying to grab this person to see where they were at. But yeah, that's my ghostly experience of all time. Is at Waverly Hills. It's the only one I've really had like that. My grandparents used to live in a possible haunted house on Southern Parkway, and that place was
Every house on
creepy.
Southern Parkway is haunted.
Every house on Southern Parkway's got a ghost in it. I mean, it's just got something. But this one, you came in and it had the front parlor, and my grandparents. What was that?
Aaron. It was just Aaron.
And my grandparents had actually turned the dining room into their bedroom. So they had this massive bedroom off the kitchen, and the kitchen was in the back, and they never did update it really. So this is like the appliances and stuff were still from like the 1920s, 1930s in the house. But you went up this back staircase, and you turned and you went up this flight of stairs. In these old houses, these things are steep and just real shallow. And you had to walk up to the top of this house to go to use the bathroom. Well, as the story went, it was in that bathroom that one of the original owners had a heart attack in the bathtub and had died. And they didn't even bother taking the old bathtub out. It was just this old claw-footed bathtub. So when I'm a kid, I'm like 8. My aunts and my mom and my grandmother would sit around and tell these ghost stories about this place, how things would open the doors at night, or I'd hear things rattling in the closet, or walking up and down the stairs. Or one night, my aunts, who had rooms on either side, the rooms flew open at the same time, and all this just real creepy stuff. And then it was like my sister's like, "I gotta go potty," and my mom's like, "John, take Carrie upstairs and wait for her outside the door." I'm like, "No, I'm not going up that staircase." My mom's like, "Get up that staircase and take her to the bathroom." And then we'd have to walk all the way up that staircase, and it seemed like forever. Have to stand out there on that stoop between them two closed bedroom doors.
Stand out on the stoop while somebody took a poop.
Yeah, when my sister's in there trying to use the restroom at 5 years old. It even had the old like skeleton key door locks on it and stuff. And you always felt really weird up there. I only spent the night there one time when I was a kid, and my grandma had me and my sister. We slept upstairs in one of the bedrooms. I think my mom was there too, but it was still creepy as all get out. But I always felt like something was up there watching us, and I had bad dreams about that house and all types of things. So yeah, that's some scary.
Every house on Southern Parkway is if you think of a scary looking house, it's the Southern Parkway houses.
Yeah, if you're from Louisville, you understand what Southern Parkway is. If you're not,
it's a bunch
Google
of
map it.
narrow 2-story houses.
Yeah, it is one of the oldest surviving Victorian neighborhoods at least in the southeast, I think it is. So they got some houses that date all the way back to like the 1870s, 1880s in that area, and they're all old, they're all big, and they're a lot of them are reputed to be haunted at the same time. But yeah, that's a lot of my family was always had a lot of ghost stories, a lot of creepy stuff that takes place, and I mean that's my experience. The Waverly Hills is probably the most trippy experience I've ever had as far as any type of ghost stories or anything of that nature.
Brian, you got anything? It could be ghost stories, scary stories,
from a movie. The one scene I remember that really
besides the it scene,
was in The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Oh, okay.
There's a scene where he is, I guess, a spoiler, but it's been out for several years, so
nobody's going to watch it.
Anyways, he's looking out. He's in the house is a 2-story house. It's been haunted, but he's looking out the window at the road leading up to the house, and he feels like he sees a carriage. It's set in I guess the 1800s, something like that. He feels like he's looking at this and he's trying to figure it out. And the way the camera is you see his reflection in the window in front of him.
Yeah.
And then what he's really seeing, though, is this ghost son drowned. And all of a sudden, his reflection becomes the woman in black. And it just boom, right on you. And it was just whoa, it was not ready for that. The way they were able to have it morph into her and come out and get him. That one was pretty good. And I have had my own experience with Katie, so... but my calf will never be the same. But anyways,
I mean, in all reality, Susie.
I mean, she headbutted me pretty good that night.
Susie, a lot of times has decided that she will not take a shower upstairs in her bathroom. She comes down and takes one in mine and Carla's bathroom down here by our bedroom.
Yeah,
and she's like, no, I'm just gonna come down here and take a shower.
Yeah,
because one night she was up there and was getting ready to take a shower and saw the shower curtain moving, because that's what Katie used to do when we would take a shower. We'd leave the bathroom door open, and she would come in and literally, as a cat, I don't understand why she does. Most cats don't do this, but she would get on the side of the tub between the curtains and sit there while we were taking a shower. And that's what Susie says. She says she saw that shower curtain move and just looked like a cat walking there. And then obviously heard a boom, boom as it jumped off the shower. And she's like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I've heard her sometimes every once in a while, not so much anymore, but used to hear her walking on the dresser in our bedroom when we were in there at night. Wake up and you could hear her walking between things. I knew it was her because we kept the door shut because we didn't want Murphy, dumbest cat in America, in there.
I mean, I do have to give a shout out though. One of the best stories I ever heard was the story that started this whole podcast. To give a shout out to Charlie.
Oh, no.
And I literally felt like I was walking with him down that hallway when he was telling it. And Charlie, don't turn around. We're both going to die here any minute. You keep telling the story. I feel like the spirits have come into this room.
Two of us, me and Brian both were just sitting here just because
it was so amazing.
Okay, because Charlie, and if you listen to this podcast very much, Charlie is really somebody who is very level-headed and very almost practical in the way he does things, the way he talks, and just no nonsense a whole lot of times. But he's sitting down here one night before we started this podcast. We were kind of goofing off talking. He's like, "I've got a ghost story," and I was like, "What?" Because he never talks about something, and all of a sudden he just goes into this story, and I wish he was here to tell it. But
it's amazing.
And after that, we're like, "Yeah, we got to start a podcast."
That's how it started.
And so it was a good story. It was one of the creepiest stories I've ever heard.
Like I said, the way he told it, I literally felt like I was walking with him down that hallway of this spirit is getting ready to kill me.
One of the creepiest things I've ever had happen to me, and it wasn't because of anything I saw, but it was what I felt. And me and my uncles used to do a lot of spelunking. We'd go out and do a lot of caving. And there was this one cave down around Corbin, Kentucky, and it was called the Saltpeter Cave, and it was where they had mined saltpeter out for gunpowder back in the mid 1800s. And the guy who owned it was like, "Yeah, you can go. I mean, you can go cave it." And we're like, "Okay." So we went into it. Was a mine. I mean, it's literally like a mine. You could see, still to this day, where they had scraped the walls and had mined out this cave. Well, we got back in this one section, and me and another guy, and you all know him, his name Mark, was with us, and me and him decided to crawl back through this other section. My uncle's like, "You can go on back that way, see what it does." So we got back in there, got to crawling, and we got down to where it was so tight we had to take our equipment off and push in front of us. And it was probably a 35, 40-yard crawl. Well, we come out in this other chamber, and it was a big room. But in the middle of it, it had this looked like somebody had built an altar out there in the middle of it, and there was pentagrams painted on the walls and everything. In this
Yeah,
place.
I would be out of there. I wouldn't stay.
And we were kind of standing looking around. It's like, well, okay, it's like, well, people do things like that. We saw stuff like that all the time in these caves, graffiti, everything. Well, off to the left, there was this other passageway, and we started to walk toward it. And he was like, "Look up there!" And across the top of it, somebody had scraped. It was an "Abandon all hope." We were like, "Well, do you want to see where that goes?" He's like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's just see." So we started walking down this passage, and as we walked, we weren't talking to each other. It wasn't like, "Oh, this is creepy" or anything. But as we walked, the more creepy it started getting. Nothing you heard or saw, but it just this feeling of this oppressive dread kept coming.
Now, see, like that would freak me out
coming.
because that's like reality type horror to me.
And this guy, the guy we were with, and y'all know him, he's really a really spiritually in tune guy. I mean, he really is spiritually in tune. And I'm spiritual, but I'm not like this guy. I mean, I'm totally not like him. And all of a sudden, he just stops. And I stop with him, and I just kind of look at him. He was like, and he looks at, and he's usually a pretty jovial kind of fella. And he just looks at me and he says, "We got to go." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "We got to go, and we got to go now." And he doesn't even say no word. He just turns around and just starts walking at a rather quick pace. And I was gone with him. I think I beat him back to the main room. He was just like, "Yeah, we didn't need to go any farther down that passageway." And then we crawled back through the little crawl space, and we didn't go back in there. But that was probably one of the creepiest experiences I have. Whatever was back there beyond that next corner,
I'm
he did
gonna
not want
ask him
to.
about it when I see him.
See if he remembers that.
He's gonna be like, "I was just playing a joke on John."
See if he remembers doing that. See if he remembers us going back in there, and if he remembers that at all.
I will.
And it was to me, it was very, very weird. He was just like, "No, we got to go. We're going to turn around and go back." And he was gone. I mean, we just left. And he may or may not remember that.
But like you said, it's that weird feeling of like, oh gosh, like something's building up here.
Yeah,
like
and that's
what's
and it may have been.
And they got some booby trap and some giant skull fuzz.
Well, and it may have been just the stuff that was on the walls and things like that. That was kind of like
Set the mood for
setting
you.
for the mood. Yeah. Or there may
you didn't notice all the animal bones.
No, there wasn't.
As you
There wasn't nothing like that. But you never, you just never know. And that was Halloween creepy. That was really
Aaron,
kind of weird.
Down in Texas, what's going on, man? You got anything to share with us?
Well, our mom would not let us watch anything scary growing up.
That's probably why I don't, But go ahead.
Yeah. But I do remember this one thing that I was probably out of high school when this thing aired on UPN, and it didn't really scare me.
I know what you're talking about because we watched it and it freaked us out.
Yeah. But like a lady at church was just freaking out over this, saying, "You have to watch this. This really happened." And it was called the alien abduction incident in Lake County. And it was like like a found footage type thing, like Blair Witch Project, of this family having like a Thanksgiving meal. And then they heard something outside, so two of them went to go investigate, and then they heard gunfire, and they come running back in and said they were shooting at an alien. And then like this just like crazy stuff starts happening in the video, like everybody in the room would like go into a trance, or the TVs would start messing up, or like their noses would start bleeding.
The ball of light came and like hit one of them or something.
Yeah, it was just like crazy stuff, and then they would like forget what just happened, like the people and stuff, and just insane stuff. And at the end, they said that everybody was missing that was in the video, like whatever it was had got them. It was all fake, but people like freaked out over that video. I was reading online on Wikipedia that a lot of people thought it was real,
including the lady at the church that was trying to convince us that it was real.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it was. I don't know how scary it was. It was just creepy, like when they would lose time or they would be like in trances and stuff.
Probably if we watched it now, we would think it was incredibly stupid. But I do remember at the time being like, man, this is creepy.
Yeah, it was really nuts. So,
Aaron, was there anything from our childhood like it actually happened that was creepy or scared us, or I don't know. I don't remember anything like that happening, but you have the memory, not me.
I can't think of anything. A lot of it was, mom was paranoid about everything. So there was a lot of things we weren't allowed to do, or a lot, just like, oh, if you drink and drive, you're gonna die, or all this stuff. She was always saying, oh, on the news, someone abducted a kid, and they found his pieces everywhere of him, and all this, and
This piece is
yeah. So you
That
do have to
was-
stay up at the store, and
Yeah. She used to always tell those stories. I have to bring up Unsolved Mysteries
Yes.
from my childhood, because that
Yes.
is one of the most horrifying things of my childhood, and it's
Truth.
TV based and it's like reality based, because I swear
Mhm.
every time we watched it, it was about something taking place where I lived,
Picture yourself in Florida.
in the town of Mandarin. That's
On
where
a night
we
much like
lived.
tonight.
Several
Update.
years ago, a woman was crossing the street on her way to the grocery store.
When she was never seen again.
Well, so love my mom, but she was paranoid. Like, she was always convinced that when we were driving home, people were following us and different things like that. And so, we had that implanted in our mind, and then we would watch Unsolved Mysteries, and then we would think, yeah, everybody's like trying to kill us. Everybody's out to get us.
the thing that I was scared of as a child was Freddy Krueger. That was I had never ever, and I still have never ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street, but that was all the kids on the playground talked about was Freddy Krueger.
Oh, yeah.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And like if it was on TV, like we didn't have cable, we had like the old TV with the knob you click to turn. And if it was on, I would turn past that channel so fast to get past it, because I did not want to even see a second of Freddy, because I knew he was going to come after me.
I'm going
he
to buy
was
you
just-
a sweater for Christmas, a Freddy Krueger sweater.
Going back to
Thank
my
you.
what I talked about last week about the woods, I remember thing that used to freak me out. I don't know if he did it intentionally just to try to freak all the kids out or what. But my dad used to have a friend named Warren, and he owned 8 or 9 acres out near Otter Creek. And this was before it was built up. It was woods all over the place. So we would go out there on a Friday night or something and do some hot dog cooking and bonfire, and his bonfire area was in the middle of this clearing, but there was woods all around it, 100 feet off from either direction. We'd be out there like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. We'd be sitting there and he'd be talking, and all of a sudden he'd go, and he'd just look off into the woods, like behind the fire. And it was like all of us, there's like, it was me and my cousins, and we're probably 10 or 11. And he'd sit there and he'd look off in the woods. And my dad's like, what is it, Warren? He's like, I could have sworn I saw somebody out there. And we were like, okay,
I'd have to push Warren in the fire.
I'm going to go. And then they would tell these stories. He's like, well, there was this one time when my friends and me were out here, and one of my friends jumped up and screamed because he thought he saw the devil in the fire, and it was just always some kind of weird
Some stupid thing.
story, and it was always a total freak out moment, because my dad would like, well, let's go take a walk across the field out there and see if we can see any stars. We're like, no, we're
No.
not walking out
I
there.
can see stars aplenty from right here.
I ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would. He'd look out in the woods. Oh, I thought I saw somebody standing out there in the woods. It's like, well, does anybody have a gun? Well, nope. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go lay in a truck for
No,
the
but
rest
that
of the
guy
night.
standing over there's got a chainsaw.
See, we didn't do stuff out in the
Oh.
woods like that at all. Probably because our mom was paranoid. But Aaron, isn't there a story that mom and dad tell about when they first got married, about how their neighbors were murdered?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Come on.
Aaron don't want to talk
Aaron
about
doesn't
that.
want to talk about it. It was something like when they first got married, like 2 houses down from them, some kind of drug deal type thing went down or something, and they tied up the guy in the garage and like they slit his throat or something with stereo wire.
Oh man.
And Mom and Dad were like, yeah, so like every day we would leave and we'd have to get stopped at the checkpoint and they'd take our name, and when we come back in, they.
I remember them telling that story.
Yeah.
Now that you said that part
Like,
of it,
I just woke something in Brian.
Brian's like, yeah, I remember that.
Wait a minute.
And so eventually, like, Dad's like, why are you guys stopping us? And oh yeah,
Your neighbors.
they
got
had
murdered.
tied up 2 people, and the one girl got away, but the other guy took his head off basically.
That's horrible.
I would have been like, well, I'm putting the house up for sale now.
I remember talking. Well, I mean, it ain't about murder, but since we're talking Halloween, and we're going around talking about scary, spooky things. When I was probably about 13. We were kind of done with the whole go out and trick or treat thing, but we would dress the house up, and me and my friend from next door were sitting on the front porch waiting for things to start. It was about. Yeah, it's twilight. Things had not got really started with my mom and his mom and a bunch of neighbors out there talking. And we lived close to Waverly Hills. We lived over there near Waverly Park on Arnoldtown Road here in Louisville. And it was all woods. This is before they built the big neighborhoods and stuff up there. But we were sitting there, and up the road walked this guy, and he had a dog on a chain, but he was wearing a druid's robe. And he never looked up, and he never made eye contact with any of us. And he just kept walking, and everybody just kind of stopped and turned around and watched him. And he just walked up the road, and then what we called the Rocky Road, because nobody lived on it. It was just a gravel road that went up in the woods. He just turns and walks on up toward the woods with that dog on a chain. And that was
Then later he
that was
came out
creepy.
with no dog.
Why do you have all these weird stories, John?
Because I don't know. I don't know why my life
Follows him.
went that way.
It
And-
follows.
Well, another really spooky thing that happened is I was already working. And I got these weird stories. I guess it's where I lived. I don't know. I guess it's where my mom and dad lived. But I would get off at the video store. I worked at a video store, and I got off one night, midnight or whatever it was, and drove home. And we had a dog. His name was Bogey, that would stay in the backyard till we got home. Then I would shut the gates and let him in. I got home, pulled in, put the car in the garage, shut the garage door, started back to where he was, and this was near Halloween, and I just stopped. And you could hear something. He was going nuts. I mean, he was literally freaking out, barking and growling and kind of running up and down the fence. I was like, what in the world? And up toward the woods, you could hear this drum being played. This is boom, 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 boom. Up in the look at Tim. See, that's why I don't tell these stories around Tim, because Tim laughs.
Because I don't doubt you. It's just you're just the master storyteller.
And-
I'm telling you, Eddie, though.
And it was just this drum, and it just
It's just
boom,
getting louder
boom, boom, boom.
and louder.
No, it didn't get louder. It just boom, boom. But then under the drum, you could hear this, and me and that dog. I don't even think I shut the gates up front. Me and that dog hit the back door. He about beat me there, and I was like 21,
No, I mean that would freak me out right now.
and I literally slept on the living room floor. Like 20 feet from my mom and dad's bedroom door the rest of the evening. It was absolutely one of the
it was probably up on
creepiest
Waverly
things.
Hills. Somebody was sacrificing something.
Well, I mean, looking back on it now, it was probably some kind of concert going on up there. But then again,
tell yourself that. John.
yeah, I'm gonna keep telling
no,
myself
I
that.
mean Waverly Hills back then wasn't really open to the public.
This was in 1994.
Yeah, it was still like pretty shut down.
And it was all shut down, and
Yeah, it was somebody up there doing something.
it was a little bit farther away from our house than I thought I could imagine something like going on. But the woods, Waverly Hills, that area had all these trails and went up to Waverly Park and
Speaking
stuff.
of Waverly Hills, like if you go down, was that West Pages?
Yeah.
Whatever. They've built a neighborhood now that literally backs up to Waverly Hills.
If you own one of them
can-
houses, you could literally look into the windows
yeah,
at
you
Waverly
can
Hills.
see Waverly Hills from your house. I'm just like,
No, thank you.
how could you do that
Well-
if you had a child?
Well, I don't know why you'd want to
little kitty.
buy
Unless you're-
buy a $350,000 to $400,000 home that
They are
backs up
big- they
next
are
to
big
a
houses.
backs up right next to an old tuberculosis hospital.
Unless you're like a horror film, like
Junkie.
Lover.
but literally, if you ride up there, you can if you go in a neighborhood, you
I've
are
done it a
looking
couple
at
times. Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can ride in the neighborhood. You can see that you're just like because you'll turn a corner all of a sudden it's just this towering building behind it.
and it's real and it's creepy. I used to stop and get gas over there on Stone Street.
Yeah.
And then during the winter, when the leaves are all gone, if you look right out, you can see
Catch
it.
a glimpse of it.
You can just it's just sitting there on the side of this hill. I mean, Waverly Hills is just there. And for me, I mean, I lived in this area my entire life, and so we've always kind of lived in the shadow, I guess, of Waverly Hills. But it always had
shadow of the drum beats.
It always had a reputation. I mean, all the way back as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
My sister and one of her ex-boyfriends, way back in the day, did some trespassing and climbed in through a window or something and explored the building one night. Didn't get real far. She said they got to right at the staircase where it goes up to the second floor, and it sounded like somebody was either dragging something down the hallway upstairs or a gurney was being pushed. And said so they.
Well,
they
back
left.
before like they did security, like because now it's there's active security and cameras there. Like if you try to trespass now, like
you'll go to jail.
You'll
now.
go to jail now. Like, but back in like the early '90s. Like everybody went up there. I mean, and that's why it's so tagged with graffiti now, is because from the 80s and 90s, and even before then, there was just nobody really kept up with it, and it was super creepy back then.
Well, a guy had owned it, and it was hoping that he could have it
renovated.
He wanted to tear it down.
Yeah,
and build a 300-foot statue of Christ up there.
Oh
on the
yeah,
hill.
yeah, I do remember
one that would
dude.
be taller than the Rio de Janeiro Jesus.
Yeah.
And fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, because that's the last thing Southwest Jefferson County and Louisville needs is a 300-foot statue up there. But he couldn't get them to condemn the building. So what he did was he just opened it up and said, anybody come in and just destroy it. Because he even tried to dig up underneath the foundation and crack the foundation of the building, and it didn't budge. I mean, that building didn't go anywhere. So finally, he sold it to a couple, not Mattingly's that I know, but a lady and gentleman by the last name of Mattingly, and they decided they were going to renovate it, and that's when a lot of the, that's when the haunted houses and stuff like that started. And they're doing a good job with it. If you ever see the place, they've done a lot of renovation on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a creepy place this day. I mean,
the death tunnel shoot was one of the that there's a creepy story from my life for you, John. When
was weird.
We did the ghost tour. You and I and several other friends. They had the death tunnel, quote unquote, and that is the tunnel that led from the Waverly Hills all the way to the bottom of the hill right there before you get on Dixie. There's those apartments, and there's the gate, and that's where the death tunnel ends. And what they would do is they would back up the ambulances or the morgue cars, or the funeral cars. The hearse, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. And they would take the bodies of the people that died, and they would literally put them on this ramp and slide them all the way down.
It had a gurney cart on it. It wasn't like they were like, whee, ride it down. It was
so you had stairs that went right beside this ramp, and they'd walk it all the way down. And it was like a death chute, basically. And so the very first part of the tour, they say, does anybody want to walk down the death tunnel or death chute? And like most of the people didn't, but like
I didn't.
About 15 of us did. And so we walked down there. And so the guy walks us down, and it was nasty, because like this is before they really started cleaning it up, and there was like old newspapers that were wet, and it was just filthy and dirty, and it's a long walk. And we get to the bottom, and as soon as we start walking, and it's pitch black except for the guy's flashlight, like I'm standing next to the guy, his flashlight flickers and goes out, and like he wasn't fidgeting with it or anything. So we're down at the bottom of the death tunnel on the stairs. And so I had to lead the whole crowd up with like my Nokia Razr flip phone. Like, you know how it barely, so I'm like lighting up the stairs, like swinging it back and forth to take us all the way back up. So yeah, that was kind of creepy.
Because we were standing at the top.
Yeah, John didn't go.
I didn't go down. Me and my dad were standing there. He was inspecting the sprinkler system or something. I don't know what he was doing at that moment. But we were standing there. We could see him. But this flashlight looked like a pin light at the very bottom, because it goes all the way down the hill. And all of a sudden the light goes, boop, it just disappears. We're like, my dad's like, did they go out? Did they go outside? And I was like, I don't know. And then through the darkness, you just see this glowing blue light coming up the stairs. My dad's like, what's that? And finally gets, oh, it's Tim.
me.
No ghost, Dad, just Tim.
Me leading the crowd back up.
But that had to be a creepy climb back up that stair because none of us had lights on at the top. We're just kind of
No,
standing there.
it got a little bit brighter the closer you got to the top from just natural.
But if you ever get an opportunity to go up there and do a tour or anything, that would be it's a great place to go do a haunted house or Halloween tour.
Yeah. So we've talked about 40 minutes now from just different scary things. So we're going to end tonight by just really quickly giving 4 or 5 characters that we would put on our Mount Rushmore of horror characters, scary movies, monsters, things that just scared us as children from movies and TV shows or from comic books or whatever. So, Aaron, I've been waiting on pins and needles for your Mount Rushmore, Aaron. So lay it on us.
Are we doing all 4 or just one at a time?
All four.
All right. Well, I didn't want to just put 4 slashers on the mountain.
Right. Like I feel like you could easily say, Jason, Freddy, Mike Myers, and Leatherface. Right. I feel like that's real easy to do, and you wouldn't be wrong, because those are 4 iconic characters from that genre. But go ahead, Aaron.
So number 1, I went with the original slasher, Norman Bates from Psycho. Is a first person on the mountain. So then I wanted a lot of different characters. So number 2, and this is where it's going to start getting controversial, is Gizmo from Gremlins would be number 2.
I'm glad Charlie's not here to hear that. He'd be like, "What?"
Charlie would have just flipped the microphone down. You want to expound on that at all, Aaron?
Well, I mean, he's not evil, but if you fame after midnight, it would be bad. Or if you saw Gizmo in your town, I would move, because you know that the whole town's about to be destroyed because someone's not going to follow the rules. Number 3, I have the shark from Jaws. Be number 3. So right now,
any reason right now, or any reason why Jaws? You just think it's iconic?
It's just iconic, and it freaked out a lot of people, and it's been imitated so much. It started the whole shark movie genre. There's hundreds and hundreds of shark movies.
Yeah,
and that's the one that started it.
Okay,
so
right. I'm with you.
So we got Norman Bates. So that's what you picture: Norman Bates, Gizmo.
Here we go.
And a shark. And this is the one that gets me thrown off the podcast. Number 4 would be none other than Willy Wonka. I know you're saying Willy Wonka's not a horror film. That man tried to murder 5 children. He is a monster, okay? That is a horror film. So number 4 is Gene Wilder or Johnny Depp. Take your pick. Maybe it's both of them. Their faces mixed together. Willy Wonka.
Oh,
so there you go.
Okay.
Aaron, you sound like somebody from Reddit right now.
This is my theory about why Willy Wonka was really a serial killer of children. I have systematically broken it down for you over the next 27 paragraphs.
At least he didn't say the giant got to go draws from Tag.
Those Oompa Loompas had those songs pre-prepared. That was premeditated attempted murder. Okay, he knew what was going to happen.
Aaron, you did read this on Reddit, didn't you?
No.
All right, Brian, what do you got for us? Redeem us.
Oh man, so my 4. So I like the horror, but I also like the Universal monsters from the 40s, 50s, whatever it was. So Frankenstein is my all-time favorite. Halloween caricature monster.
You mean Frankenstein's monster?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then I would put Michael on there because that was a cool thing. I got to watch Halloween for the first time with Jen and her mom, so that was cool. And then I got to put Pennywise, and then my last one is got to be the Crypt Master. From Tales from the Crypt, because
that's a good one.
I remember watching those and I would be like, oh, that's no way. And there's one episode that still to this day I remember that haunts me, but it was that I would put him on there.
Good. I there's the Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight is is a great movie.
Yep.
I do really enjoy that one. I'm gonna read Charlie's list here. Aaron, you might have to help me on some of these. You'll know some of them. He has Mike Mike Myers on here also. Michael Myers from Halloween. Charlie, if you listen to the podcast at all, he has announced his love for the Halloween.
He's a Halloween apologist.
Yes, he is. And Michael Myers is probably his all-time favorite. I know he was really hyped for the movie that just came out. I'm sure he's probably already seen it by this time. Next, he put the Tar Man from Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead was actually, the movie was said to have taken place in Louisville, Kentucky. The Tar Man is the first, I believe, zombie that uttered the phrase brains. And that's where we get that zombie trope from. I'm right in that. Aaron, isn't that right?
Yeah, the whole brains thing didn't really start to Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and that movie is just crazy. But Tarman is, it's like he's just basically tar on skin and bone, or just bones, and it's kind of creepy, but also entirely goofy. Next, Charlie says Joe Bob Briggs, who was the host of Aaron. What was it? Yeah, the host
TNT's Monster Vision.
Yeah, and several other things. That is really, Aaron, I know you know a lot about that, don't you?
Yeah, he used to. I mean, that's where I saw a lot of scary movies. Was when he would show them on TNT, and they're heavily edited. That's where I saw Exorcist and stuff. And he's been in a few movies. Like he's in The Stand and a couple other movies, like some cameo appearances. And he was really responsible for introducing a new generation to a lot of those old movies. So.
Yep. And then last but not least, Charlie has Lon Chaney's Wolfman, which is one of the old like 1940s Universal monsters. I unfortunately don't know much about it, and I'm doing Charlie no justice at all.
It was a good movie.
By talking about it. So Brian, you know a little bit about it?
Just a little bit. I mean, I remember watching. Like I remember thinking at first, like the Freddy Cougars and the Jasons and all that. That wasn't like you all talked about. Y'all couldn't watch that in your house. Mm-hmm. I couldn't see that either. But yet, my mom and dad had no problem with the Universal monsters from the 40s. So, like the Creature from the Black Lagoon was what I consider to be the first horror film that I saw, and I really enjoyed it. And then the Wolfman was next, and then Frankenstein, whatever, and then Dracula and the Invisible Man. That's why that one pop that's out now is so important to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, there are definitely some great classics, especially for some of the quote unquote special effects they pulled off back then. That today it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of cheesy, but at the same time, to think what you were working with
back then,
it worked out pretty well.
All right, John, what do you got for us?
Okay, let me see here. First of all, it's not necessarily because he was horrible or evil in the kind of the modern sense, but I had to go with Leonard Nimoy, Dr. David Kimber from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was such a betrayal of trust. So I watched it again the other night. I thought, oh man, because he kind of leads them in, and then by the end of the movie, he is one of the aliens, but he's like the spokesman for it. And he explains it all to them, and it's very creepy, very betrayal. It's one of the betrayal things. Number two, because it freaked me out when I saw it, was the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. that first one is just nuts, especially at the end where he's got the kid's eyes, where he's hollowed out the back of his head. He's got his eyes. He's like, whoa. Yeah, not my thing. Going with what Brian had, or I got three Stephen King ones on here.
Jeez.
Pennywise, but I had to go with the Tim Curry version of Pennywise. I had been so desensitized toward it when we watched the new It that the guy who plays Pennywise I would not want to meet on the street. Tim Curry just still scares me to death, except for the claymation scene where he goes down the drain, which absolutely should have been
Tim Curry just in general kind of scares me.
But that scene in It, the original where he goes down the Shire drain, it should never even made that movie. I mean, it was absolutely the worst computer-generated, whatever it was. It was horrible. It's like Land of the Lost. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy. Another one that really I enjoyed because I read the book and then I watched the movie was Randall Flagg, the Walking Man from The Stand. That was a really cool villain. And last but not least, made me scared of all dogs for you're right, exactly right. made me scared of any dog larger than a pound and a half for years of my life. Cujo. And honorable mention goes to my favorite horror dog of all time, Devil Dog, the Hound from Hell, baby.
That's your mother would make
that's
you
that's a call out to you, Stephanie. That's right. My cousin Stephanie, one of our 5 Live listeners. That's a shout out to her this evening. She still talks about Devil Dog, the Hound from Hell. I'll have to tag her in this when we talk about it this week. But that's my list.
Okay, I put on mine Ghostface from the Scream movies. Just that iconic mask. I think that came out in '96, and that kind of kicked off when I really started watching a lot of horror films. And although it was always a different character, that I still think that's an iconic, mace or mask or face. Another one I put on here was I put on here Johnny from the original Night of the Living Dead. That's Barbara's brother.
Oh yeah, they're gonna get you, Barbara. That is so creepy.
That he does such a great job of that, and of course he turns into a zombie and actually causes, spoiler alert from the way back then, Barbara to die. But I just think that that iconic phrase, the way he delivered it. I struggled with the next couple ones. I decided to put Jason on here. I think Jason in the hockey mask is just, when you say, villains, that's one of the first one that pops up. And I absolutely love Jason Goes to New York or whatever that one was called, where he goes and is walking down New York City, and that movie is just kind of
that's the one where he's walking out through there and the guys are listening to the boombox and he kicks it,
and they say something to him and he just kind of looks at or whatever. And it's kind of, that's a lot of tongue in cheek in that movie, and then of course Jason X and the one where he's in space and all that stuff. It's goofy, but I just find that to be kind of a a pretty iconic looking character.
Wait, if this Halloween one, which is already making bank, you wait for a Friday the 13th reboot. It's got to be coming at some point,
right? If they do it right,
here first,
if they do it right, it can be done well.
They'll be doing it.
So for the last one, I went a little off. I didn't quite go Willy Wonka like Aaron. This is one of the scariest moments from my childhood, and it's not a scary movie at all. But it's Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman's
yes.
Big Adventure. That scene in that movie where she does the Large Marge face.
It was on a night just like this.
We watched that movie I don't know how many times as a child. I could not watch that scene probably until I was like a teenager.
It would freak you out. I mean, it was literally freak you out.
And like now I watch it and it's not really a scary face at all. It's almost claymation also. But like, man, I was like, because it's such a goofy, happy-go-lucky movie, and the way she delivers that tell, and she's just like, and tell him Marge sent you.
It's right up there for me with the scene in the Dan Aykroyd in A Twilight Zone where he goes, hey, you want to see something really scary? And he turns around, he's like the Wolfman.
Yeah.
That freaked me out too when I saw that. And I don't really know how that fit into the Twilight Zone because it wasn't in that's not what the Twilight Zone was. It was just in there. It's like, hey, you want to see something really scary? Yeah, it was crazy.
I put an honorable mention. Aaron and I talked about this a little bit. It was Ash from The Evil Dead. He's not really the villain, but the original Evil Dead is a great low budget, really well done horror film.
That movie will trip you out to this day.
Yeah, that's why Aaron's scared of trees.
Yeah, I mean that movie's still
it's really well done. I mean, tons of blood, tons of gore, and it's like low budget gore, but it's almost like gross you out.
Yeah,
type stuff.
That's a Sam Raimi's a genius.
Yeah, so that was good stuff. So
we all did our list, and no Freddy Krueger, as iconic as he is.
Aaron, I'm surprised Aaron didn't put him on there because he was petrified.
Yeah, but for me, the thing about it with Freddy Krueger is
Freddy was always so dumb.
Well, it got to the point he was dumb, and then when you grow up and you realize that he was a child molester, that kind of took it out of any type of. It's like, okay, I don't really necessarily.
Right.
Okay, why are we glorifying this?
Right.
But I'm saying, and when you talk about some of the most iconic horror characters, I mean, he's gonna be.
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
Leatherface too.
Yeah.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. By the way, I wanted to put on our terrible scary movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is terrible. If you ever seen it, it's an awful movie. But they made the remakes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They weren't bad because Leatherface is still kind of just a creepy. And Leatherface is actually somewhat loosely based on an actual couple serial killers. Ed, I can't even think how to say his last name. But anyways, I know if Charlie was here, he'd be like he's probably yelling at the screen right now.
Or being chased around Borden, Indiana.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He's got one dog under each arm. And he's running across.
Another one across his shoulders, running. They're gonna get me.
So my honorable mention was The Thing.
Oh,
The Thing
The
from
Thing.
Kurt Russell.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
That is one of the most horribly awesome movies of all time.
It has not aged well.
It has not aged well, but still,
yeah.
When they touch it with the electrode and it just goes bursting out of people.
Yeah.
That's very.
The remake was okay, and it did all right with it. It was creepy, but yeah, that original one.
I never saw the original.
One movie.
I never saw the
The
remake. Sorry.
The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah.
That's a creepy movie.
But then I remember one time Andrea, I think we were watching it with Aaron and them, because she was it Children of the Corn?
Oh, we watched Children of the Corn.
Yeah,
with
I remember
Andrea,
watching that, and I was just like, what?
Children of the Corn was crazy. A little kid kept running around yelling, Malachi! And I was just like, that is creepy.
Yeah.
Little kids are creepy. They creep me out.
They do when they get, well, even in Aaron's, The Shining. Like those two girls.
Oh, The Shining. The Shining's a little bit of a creepy movie.
I think Children of the Corn was actually even creepier because it's like, okay, they're out in the middle of this cornfield and they murder all the adults, and then they got to sacrifice people when they get to a certain age. It's like Logan's Run meets, I don't know,
Children of the Corn.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of a good analogy there.
It's all right. It's okay.
I couldn't think of one. Sorry.
But that's our Mount Rushmore of horror villains, horror characters, or beloved child. Beloved child icons like Willy Wonka and Gizmo.
So everything from Willy Wonka and Gizmo.
Yeah, so we've got the full gauntlet there of Tarman and Pennywise, Cryptmaster to Gizmo, the cutest character ever in the history of TV. But let us know what would be on your Mount Rushmore. Tell us what scares you. Tell us scary moments from your life. We would love to hear them. Tell John that his ghost cat is not real. Leave us comments. Tell us how you're feeling.
Just wait till he leaves some scratches.
Doesn't have claws.
No, she's got blades now.
We'll let you hang out in the storage room in the dark
right.
when you see them red eyes. You know what it is.
No, it's good.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy
Catch
Halloween.
Catch us
everybody.
on John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm used to Charlie doing it.
I know.
Facebook, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, other
leave
places
us
as well. YouTube. Don't
leave
forget
us
about YouTube.
5 stars. Give us thumbs up. Tell your mom how great we are. Help her make the bed. Do something like that, But anyways, as always, sorry, Brent.
Happy Halloween, players.
Aaron, what do you got?
And so the 5 dead bears return to their crypt to slumber for another year.
So good.
Gosh.
Oh,
So good. That has made my Halloween.